Hi everyone, welcome to our today's webinar with the topic Your Web Access and Evolving Threats. First of all, thank you for joining us today despite your busy schedules. I am Tasha Nguyen, Global Marketing Manager of Monitorapp, and I will be the host for today. So our main presenter will be Mr. Kurt Schumacher, our technical support engineer who has earned various certifications so far, including Cisco CCNA, CompTIA Security Plus, and AWS industry certifications. So here are some details for you about this webinar. Firstly, we are recording the session and the video will be available on our Monitorapp YouTube channel. So feel free to visit it later if necessary. The webinar will be run for approximately 40 minutes. And during this time, if you have any questions about the topic, please leave them in the chat box below. We'll address these questions during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. For further information or more specific inquiries, please reach out to us at marketing@monitorapp.com for general questions or support@ironcloud.com for related technical issues. We're here to help and provide the information you need. But before getting into the main content, I would like to take a few minutes to introduce our company so that you can get a glimpse of who we are first. So Monitorapp is a security solution provider and has been in the business of cybersecurity since 2005, which means we have been in the business for 19 years so far. We have been listed on the Korean Exchange Trading Board last year. Initially founded in South Korea, our global footprint now extends to include 2 overseas branches, one in the US and another in Japan. Over the years, we have garnered extensive experience in delivering security solutions to diverse international markets spanning Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and more. So focusing on the B2B cybersecurity sector, our primary objective is to deliver tailored security solutions designed for corporate network landscapes. At Monitorapp, we offer an array of products, including the physical and virtual appliances deployable on premises or in the cloud, IronCloud, our cloud-based security service platform that can be used anytime, anywhere, and AI Labs, our threat intelligence platform delivering robust threat monitoring, analysis, and response features empowered by a multi-dimensional analysis engine and enhanced with AI technology. Additionally, IronCloud is our independent brand. It presents a diverse range of security offerings as a unified platform service, spanning from website and web application security solutions to the innovative SSE platform and ZTNA, ensuring secure access for your employees and safeguarding internal resources regardless of location. Supported by a global edge network, IronCloud ensures a seamless user experience by delivering its security services from 40 data centers across 15 countries with ongoing expansion. And among the 3 categories that we offer, we will focus exclusively on the capabilities of IronCloud's website protection service for today. And yes, that's basically a really short introduction about our company. Hope you had a brief shot of what Monitorapp has been doing and what services we are providing. So now we're going to move on to the main session. Mr. Kurt will now start the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Tasha, for the introduction. My name's Kurt, and I'm a technical support engineer here at Monitorapp. I'm excited to give this presentation on the web application protection platform that we have because it's such a game changer for small and medium-sized businesses to be able to enhance the security posture of their businesses and websites. But there is a lot that we're going to be going through today. So let's take a look at the structure of this webinar to make it just a little bit more manageable. So first, we're going to be going through why you need IronCloud. Then we'll get an IronCloud overview. And then 3, 4, and 5 will be specifically about the website protection platform, and it'll include the WAP Secure CDN, the WMS website malware scanner, and then at the end, we'll do a review and we'll answer your questions. Section 1, why you need Ion Cloud. So we're now 4 months into 2024, and one trend is certainly continuing from last year: the ever-increasing cloud adoption by businesses and organizations. Gartner has been keen to point this out for the past few years, and this information given from one of their press releases last year makes their point rather credible. Stated plainly at the top, data and applications are on the cloud now. Hybrid and multi-cloud environments are now the norm. And with the first two statistics we see that 94% of enterprises use the cloud, or 83% of enterprises' workloads are in the cloud. But just because websites and workloads are moving to the cloud does not mean that enterprises are safer. Looking here at statistics from White Hat Security, there are still vulnerabilities no matter where your servers are located. Businesses usually have public-facing resources, and of those resources, 60% of them are always open to some sort of vulnerability. I also like this last statistic to really make the point that it takes 196 days on average to resolve critical issues for vulnerabilities. There's also been explosive growth in the use of APIs in the last 5 years. Mobile apps and microservices have changed the way businesses operate and how they provide their product to the public. This has raised major concerns, however, for as the technology and practices have changed, new vulnerabilities are presenting themselves, and the cybersecurity world is doing its best to keep up. The seriousness of this issue is obvious from looking at this slide in two ways. One aspect that you can see is the number of API attacks and how they're steadily increasing. But the other aspect is a little more subtle. Most people are aware of the OWASP Top 10, the list of the 10 biggest vulnerabilities for web applications, and that was started in 2003. But that's not what this list is. This list on the right is the OWASP Top 10 for APIs, and this issue has gotten so big that OWASP has made a new category for this since 2019. On top of all of this, bot traffic has been getting excessive. While there are good types of bots that are used for companies to find useful data and information for consumers, the amount of malicious bot traffic is nearly double that of beneficial bot traffic. With serious risk of credential stuffing and vulnerability scanning, this is a threat that requires immediate attention. As stated in the slide, bot attacks are escalating in terms of frequency, intensity, and sophistication. With a hybrid approach to work and resources, it now makes sense for a company's security stack to be located in the cloud so it can be accessed anywhere in the world with the same security policies and also high latency. Also, it gives admin the ability to access all of these resources from one convenient console. And this is what Ion Cloud is offering as a security solution. Section 2, Ion Cloud Overview. Monitorapp has been at the forefront of web application firewall and secure web gateway technologies for almost 20 years. And it is one of the most trusted names for enterprise and government cybersecurity in Asia. We have consistently offered a wide variety of highly capable WAF and SWG appliances that work in cooperation with our world-class threat intelligent platform, AI Labs, to protect against known vulnerabilities and zero-day exploits. However, as stated, Enterprise networks are transitioning off-premise and utilizing cloud technologies more than ever. And this trend is only set to continue. Therefore, Monitorapp took its decades of WAF and SWG expertise and made its security solution available as a SaaS platform for security in the new cloud platform, Ion Cloud. To meet the changing demand of production environments, a next-generation WAP was created for Ion Cloud. According to Gartner, a legacy web application firewall here on the left is no longer enough for adequate web security needs. So they made a name for a new appliance with a more complete solution and called it the WAP, which stands for Web Application and API Protection. This does not mean additional API security only. It actually requires bot mitigation and DDoS mitigation features as well. Therefore, Ion Cloud has been designed and developed to meet all of the WAP requirements without additional cost and without the complexity. Monitorapp then packaged the WAP with a website malware scanner and content delivery network to offer a full website protection suite. With Ion Cloud, companies can feel confident about having their services publicly exposed to the internet. By creating a global network of edge locations, Ion Cloud provides the low latency, high availability, and worldwide reach required of modern enterprises. By connecting users and resources to the closest and most responsive edge locations, the Ion Cloud platform provides comprehensive website protection and acceleration. Ion Cloud edge locations are now built into 40 internet data centers spanning 15 countries, and this number is only set to grow. We also have the ability to rapidly deploy new edge locations for customers by leveraging the AWS infrastructure if that is required. Here, you can see the different service categories that Ion Cloud Platform has to offer. I want to be clear that the scope of today's lecture will focus exclusively on the capabilities of Ion Cloud's website protection service. If you are interested in the other categories, there was a secure internet access webinar from last month that can already be viewed on our YouTube channel. There will also be another in July. Additionally, there will be a secure remote access webinar in August, so don't miss it. And before we move on, I also want to mention that the entire platform is linked to the Monitorapp's threat intelligence platform, AI Labs, which updates all of these services in almost real time with new patterns and vulnerabilities, while also analyzing the traffic of the network for zero-day exploits and anomalies with machine learning. It is such a robust threat intelligence platform that is even used by Google's VirusTotal for its scans. But getting back to the topic for today, as you can see in the website protection category, there is a lot to cover, so let's look at how we will break down this service into sections. Looking back at our table of contents, first we will cover the WAP, then move on to the secure content delivery network, move on to the website malware scanner. And if you were wondering why is the DDoS category not listed here, that's because it's included in the WAP and CDN sections. So let's begin. Section 3, Web Application and API Protection. The WAP is an essential element to the website protection framework. It is a critical line of defense when protecting your public-facing resources. There are different security solutions working together inside the WAP, but something that links them all together is a special ability that it has, which is the ability to decrypt HTTPS traffic. Traditionally, security equipment like an IPS, IDS, firewall, or DLP can only inspect the contents of HTTP traffic. However, in 2024, Over 90% of today's web traffic is encrypted with SSL or with TLS protocols. Therefore, after clients or servers encrypt the traffic, any malicious or sensitive data can pass through security defenses undetected. Here you can see how this works in both directions. After an attacker encrypts their data, their malicious packets can be sent through the company's defenses, where they are then decrypted by the client internally. Therefore, there is a high risk of compromised systems. Also, if an internal client system is already infected, things like data exfiltration can easily occur, for data will be encrypted and sent out of your company without being detected by something like a DLP. It is essentially a layer 7 problem. And here's a chart showing how layer 7 attacks are covered by the WAP. Some say that a next generation firewall can fulfill this function, but as seen here, it cannot fully offer this service. Also, next generation firewalls are incredibly expensive in comparison. Ion Cloud fixes this problem by sharing certificates that the web server uses with the WAP. Now, it can decrypt traffic for inspection before re-encrypting it and sending it on to its destination. That way, information will still be protected on the web and even when going through internal or private networks. If a web server does not use encryption, Ion Cloud can also offer SSL offloading, which encrypts information between the client and Ion Cloud, and then sends the unencrypted packets to the server. This is especially useful in situations where servers cannot handle encrypted traffic, but you would still like to use HTTPS connections in your web browsers. With this ability to decrypt this traffic, the WAP can provide 4 main features, which is web security, API security, bot mitigation, and level 7 DDoS mitigation. And we're going to go through each one at a time. The first is web application security. Monitorapp has been perfecting its web security for years and offers incredible protection, including always staying up to date with OWASP Top 10. However, this doesn't mean setting up your policies has to be complicated. So, with Ion Cloud, you can have total web application protection with just 17 rules. Ion Cloud has been designed to minimize false positives, so you can start the service with all policies already in block mode if you want. With other providers, WAPs and WAFs are set only to detect mode for 2 to 3 weeks. After that, the collected data has to be analyzed by looking at hundreds of thousands of events. Then, rules have to be tuned based on these findings. This is too much time and effort, and it leaves your network exposed before setting security policies to block malicious traffic for weeks, if not months. With Ion Cloud, there's no need for this process, and it's safe to start with the policies in block mode right away. This is a huge point of differentiation we have with our competitors. So in the previous screen, there were 17 rules for full protection of your website. And they are actually signature-based pattern rules. But if you have non-signature-based requirements, for example, blocking specific web traffic based off of the header or the country or cookies, etc., then it's possible to set user-defined rules and manual access control rules as well. For example, you may have requirements to protect an admin folder, and you only want access to a specific office IP maybe, or just a specific country, as you can see in this screenshot. You can set up this type of rule or any other type of rule like this without limitations. When a pattern or condition is matched, Ion Cloud provides you with 2 options. You can block the page, as seen here on the left, or you can use a CAPTCHA. You can edit this page by adding your logo or contact information for extra personalization as well. The next topic would be API security. And according to Cloudflare, 50% of all web traffic is now for APIs. While this number increases, as we saw, so does the amount of malicious traffic related to APIs. We can see lots of security incidents are API related recently. And this is because, as we said earlier, legacy WAFs cannot handle malicious API traffic well enough. Moreover, API traffic generally handles important information, such as authentication or authorization. To meet evolving requirements, we provide API security functions like validation with authentication headers, schema validation, and rate limiting as well. Also, we provide other useful functions such as automatic API discovery, JSON Web Token integrity checks, access control, and block pages for API calls. What's great is you don't need an additional API security solution for this API protection. It already comes as part of the WAP. Let's look at just a few of these features. The first is Ion Cloud's API discovery. There is a new term called API sprawl, where companies will have so many APIs that they're no longer aware of all of them, or they neglect to keep them up to date. And you can even ask yourself, do you know exactly how many APIs your company has right now? What about gray IT APIs being intentionally hidden from you? With Ion Cloud, it's now easier to have dedicated management of APIs to ensure they are documented, maintained, and protected by being able to detect and locate them in the first place. A second aspect of the API protection is that you can register your APIs with the WAP. This way, you can control them better by setting the path, using schema validation, and specifying an authentication header name. You can also specify if you're using JSON Web Tokens. If API calls do not match the criteria that you define, you can block them altogether or just detect them for analysis later. Another way in which Ion Cloud's WAP is able to protect against API threats is by focusing on tokens. Ion Cloud's token validation can stop hackers from unauthorized access from happening through header value authentication, JWT integrity verification, and authentication server verification. This example is showing JSON Web Token integrity verification. While JWTs are widely used for authentication because they are lightweight and easy to use, if hackers are able to steal the token, they will have the ability to potentially access resources in a variety of ways, such as payload manipulation. Here, you can see where the secret key that would normally only be on the web server is being shared with the WAP. This way, Ion Cloud can determine if the header or the payload has been tampered with before sending the request to the API server by verifying the hash value. You can also validate the payload of the JWTs for additional security. In the example shown here, I'm making sure that only administrators can post to my server by making sure that the JWT that claims the admin role also has a matching email address as the admin. It will also verify that the claim information in the JWT matches the parameters set in the HTTP request. Additionally, you have the ability to set a rate limit on requests. Here, I'm setting a limit of 100 requests in a period of 10 seconds. And if the request count goes above this threshold, the IP of these requests will be blocked for 60 minutes. If you would like to set access controls for the API, this option is available as well. In this example, I want to restrict the API access in certain countries. Here you can see that I've blocked the Bahamas, Canada, North Korea, and the United States minor outlying islands. No particular reason for these countries, it's just an example. The next major feature of the WAP is bot management. When we talk about web attacks, around 90% of the attacks are actually done via automated programs. These are from bots, not from normal browsers. That means if we can differentiate a bot and a human browser, then we can be safe from this sort of web attack. According to the graph on the left, only 52% of the web access is from a normal browser. 17 is from good bots, such as search engines or monitoring tools. But 30% of the requests are from bad bots. In general, bad bots have lots of negative impact because they generate high traffic and they cause a high system load through the number of attacks that they can have, like brute force logins, DDoS attacks, web scraping, and web vulnerability scanning. In order to protect from bad bots, IonCloud provides a bot management function. The first is IP reputation. We keep up-to-date databases with information about Tor IPs, known attack IPs, proxies, VPNs, etc. with our AI Labs website. So you can choose whether to allow or deny traffic from these places outright, or you can verify them with CAPTCHA challenges to allow access from a bad IP. Tor IPs are a great example for this. For some legitimate users, often will use Tor for anonymity, and they're not malicious bots. The next option would be rate limiting. As you can see in this image, you can apply the rate limit for a URL based on a single IP or a device using a fingerprint. In the first example, we set the policy to verify the client with the CAPTCHA for 5 minutes when they access a resource more than 2 times in 20 seconds. In the second case, login protect, we will block the client for 1 minute when they try to log in 2 times within 5 seconds for the login URL path. At the bottom of the screen here's an example of the CAPTCHA challenge, the block page provided by default when IPs are over these thresholds that we define. And like the web application protection, you can customize these however you like. The next is forced browsing, which is similar to rate limit function, but it's slightly different. In the previous case, rate limit was based on the number of URL requests a client made. But here, forced browsing is a bit different because it's based on the number of response codes from the origin web server a client has. Thus, it's useful for cases that rate limiting can't detect. For example, when an attacker does vulnerability scanning with a scanning tool, it will generate lots of 404 not found errors. If we can detect these generated responses, we can block the client if it generates 404 errors over a defined threshold. Another example seen here on the screen is we can block a new type of level 7 DDoS attack where bots generate a massive amount of random HTTP URL requests, which causes many 500 type response codes like 503 service unavailable. This is possible because the WAP is located between the client and the origin web server, and it can decrypt the HTTP responses to see these codes. Also, we provide an advanced bot management function by injecting a small amount of JavaScript into the response bodies. Once the JavaScript has been injected, then the client will interpret the JavaScript and respond accordingly. With this information, IonCloud can check and verify whether the client can understand the JavaScript or not, and whether the client is a bot or a legitimate browser. The information the JavaScript injection might send back to IonCloud is human-computer interaction, like is there mouse movement, what's the rate of keyboard strokes, etc. So credential stuffing is one of the most common and most important security issues recently. Credential stuffing is the automated injection of stolen credentials, such as usernames and passwords, into a website login form. This is because so many users reuse the same password and username or email, regardless of the website that they're using. When those credentials are exposed by a database breach or a phishing attack, for example, submitting those sets of stolen credentials into dozens or hundreds of other sites can allow an attacker to compromise other websites as well. This process is slightly different from credential spraying. For in credential spraying, the attacker doesn't know credentials ahead of time. They're just using commonly known passwords. Then how do we protect from this kind of attack? Since attackers use automated bot programs to input the credentials one by one, if we activate the bot detection, then we will be safe from these style of attacks. And don't get me wrong, this bot management in itself is great to protect against this threat, but we can also consider going a step further by activating the credential stuffing function provided by IonCloud specifically. Since we have several million linked credentials from databases internally at IonCloud, just like attackers, once this is activated, this function monitors the typed credentials and checks whether the credentials is matched with leaked contents or not. If matched, then you can choose to alert or block the login attack. Let's look at an example here. Here we have a company protecting their login page. The page is on the right. The credential stuffing policy is on the left. The first thing to do to protect the login process on the website is to define the target URL. Then you will input your field name. In this case, we have the /do-login and the UID for these fields. Then choose which credentials you will be checking, ID or password. In this case, it is the ID field, so IonCloud will reference its millions of stolen IDs when there's a login. Finally, decide the action, whether you want to detect this or you want to block it entirely when credentials are matched. Moving on, IonCloud also has an extremely useful dashboard under Analytics to keep an eye on your website at a glance with your WAP Analytics page. Here you can see convenient information regarding your traffic, location of requests, most common attacks your site is receiving, etc. If you would like a more in-depth analysis, you can look at specific logs in the Security Event tab. Here you can see information like what time the event occurred, what was the client IP, what was the URL path they were trying to access, and the type of attack and event type. Also, by clicking the magnifying glass on the right of the attack, you can get further analysis of what happened, like not just the ability to see the IP of the attacker, but also the ability to search the IP reputation. There are also other things displayed that are helpful, like what were the contents of the blocked HTTP packet. So that pretty much wraps up the WAP section for now, and we can keep moving on. Section 4, Content Delivery Network. By being able to cache content at edge locations in the IonCloud infrastructure, you can enhance user experience with quicker load times and reduce traffic costs. The CDN also provides an added layer of DDoS prevention on layer 3 and 4 traffic. Additionally, the content delivery network can reduce the effects of a DDoS attack because clients trying to access your service can be routed through to other edge locations if necessary. To summarize once again what these advantages are: reduced load time, saving with bandwidth because you don't have to load everything from your origin server, security improvements with encryption, and DDoS mitigation. You can also monitor your content delivery network from the web interface. By looking at the Content Delivery Network Analytics page, you can see how many requests there were, how many of these requests were cached, and where in the world the requests came from, and what were the most common response codes. Under CDN settings, you can also determine how long do you want this content to be stored, with a maximum of 1 year at an edge location. There's also the option to manually purge your files before the time limit for caching expires. You can see features at the bottom as well, such as CORS header support to control if other domains can load your page content. The WAP and CDN can be packaged together, or you can use them separately, but setting them up for your web servers is so easy. After making an account for your domain, change the DNS name information with your DNS provider to the address provided to you by IonCloud. Then the traffic is routed through the security service as an inline proxy. Then point IonCloud at your origin server from our domain management page. Being able to monitor and configure everything from one console reduces complexity for your IT solutions. Section 4, Website Malware Scanner. IonCloud offers another service where your website can be scanned for malware called the WMS. The WMS will visit the website and perform an in-depth analysis regarding many aspects of the site, then generate a report. Start by adding your domain to the WMS. Then you will choose certain aspects of your domain to analyze. Once you've added your domain, you can manage the site and even start a diagnosis right away. Choose how often you want to do a scan. Do you want to do it daily, weekly, monthly? You set these things up for yourself. You'll benefit from different insights about your website. You can get a detailed report about the detection of infection, including details about the IP and port where these malicious files were found. As we saw in the previous slides, management is also streamlined for quick deployment and ease of use. Lastly, the WMS is linked to our threat intelligence platform, AI Labs, providing the most up-to-date information on attack patterns and vulnerabilities. You also get a reputation information score for your website. With that being said, we'll be moving on to our last part of the presentation, Section 5, Review and Questions. We've gone through a lot of the content today, and to summarize some key points before we end. First, IonCloud is a cloud-based SaaS service mainly designed for small or medium-sized websites. Thus, even though you may not have a large team of web security professionals, it's no problem to operate the service with a stable configuration. This is because, number one, it's easy to set up and operate. It can take just 5 minutes to complete the setup and configuration. Number two, since IonCloud has no false positives, there's no need to monitor the events every day and tune the rules. Next, since IonCloud is a complete security solution created to meet the recent increase in security requirements such as API protection, bot management, and DDoS mitigation, there's no need for additional security solutions. Moreover, it's cheaper than other service providers, and there's no hidden costs. Let's consider other service providers in comparison. For example, Akamai, which is very expensive. Moreover, it's quite difficult to use, so it's almost impossible to operate without technical support. That means you need to pay additional money to buy the technical support contract. Another provider with similar services would be Cloudflare. As you might know, they're suffering recently from frequent security and service incidents. So you might not be able to depend on their service availability consistently. Also, it's not cheap, especially due to their hidden costs. Regarding their security event reports, in some cases, security events are not clear and provide no detailed information. So it's hard to understand why requests are being blocked in the first place. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. I want to thank you again for joining the webinar, and we would love to answer some of your questions. So Muhammad asked, will you get a free e-certificate at the end of this webinar session? You can get a free trial for IonCloud if you go to our website. And so if you go there and apply, we would be happy to set you up with a trial account and you can try out these services for yourself. So our second question was, how long will it take for a configuration to be applied? For example, if I switch something from detect to block. And the answer for that would be almost immediately. After changing your configuration and applying it, it should only take about 1 to 2 seconds for the configuration to take effect. Okay, we just got another question. It is it possible to check the history of configurations that have been changed and when. So you can check your configuration history. If you go to the My Page tab and you go to your activity stream, you'll be able to see when you made changes to your configurations and what they specifically were. Our next question is, how long are security events saved in the dashboard? So for our dashboard, you can access security events up to 3 months before they're deleted from our system. And this is much better than some of our competitors, which most of the time you can only save events for 1 month as opposed to 3. So also, if you have a SIEM solution like Splunk or Elasticsearch, you can push these log events in real time with using our alarm setting, and then you can save them indefinitely. Then we have, does Ion Cloud support IP reputation? Yes, we do. First, you can apply a policy from bot management under IP reputation. Secondly, you can search reputation information from your security event that we saw earlier in the presentation. After you click the magnifying glass, you can click detailed view to search an IP reputation that tried to access your site.
So it seems like we don't have any other questions, so we will now end the webinar. For further information, you can contact us at marketing@monitorapp.com or support@ioncloud.com. For reviewing the content today, you can check it out again on our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for joining us today. See you next time. For reviewing the content today, you can check it out again on our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for joining us today. See you next time.